We are back, and let's take you right to the White House, where President Biden is speaking from the Oval Office. We're just getting our first look after this briefing from the head of FEMA and from the North Carolina governor. As the president said, he is going to head to North Carolina on Wednesday. Let's listen.
And getting cell networks back online so folks can connect to their loved ones. We deployed 30 Starlink receivers, and we're 10 more on the way to Western North Carolina. And FEMA's on the ground supporting the communities and registering people for disaster assistance. And talking to the governor, it's going to take a while, right, Gov? It's going to be a long time. And there are thousands of line workers working around the clock to help get power back up in North Carolina. Additionally, Governor Cooper and I have spoken about my traveling to North Carolina and to survey the damage as soon as I can without taking resources or diverting resources on the ground. And we're going to stay as long as it takes when we get this thing going. But I'm going to North Carolina on Wednesday, it's planned now. We're going to be landing in Raleigh for a briefing with the Emergency Operations Center. And I'll then do an aerial tour of Asheville. It's too much for me in terms of interrupting access to help there to land and to survey the damage other through the air. And then it's my plan to travel to Georgia and Florida as soon as possible after that. And I don't know, Governor, you want to add anything?
Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate the resources that are coming our way. This has been a devastating storm, as you know, and we're grateful to have had Administrator Criswell here on the ground all day today, and she's going to be staying and making sure we surge assets into the area to give people food and water and to get the power back on. And obviously, we are grateful for the search and rescue teams as well. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Any questions on this issue?
Sir, is it your sense from the governors you've spoken to that they have all the resources they need right now, or are there things they need immediately?
They need things immediately. They're getting them immediately. Some access to matter to get access to the people who need them. And so that's why we're talking about land bridges, to be able to get the Defense Department in there, to get water, for example, from a place that, in fact, they can't get to because the roads are gone, the roads are closed. We've contacted we have the Defense Department agreeing that they're providing for helicopters from the base there to get as much in as we can. It's going to take a long time, but Gov, what am I leaving out that you need?
We've talked about a lot of resources that we need, medical, making sure that we are getting additional helicopters for land bridges, search and rescue. All of those things are happening now. We just know that the commodities are going to have to continue in for weeks because, for example, Asheville, the largest city here, and that supplies a lot of the water, their water system is completely down. So getting water in here on a sustained basis is going to be critical, and we are discussing the strategies to continue those efforts and to surge those efforts.
Mr. President and Governor Cooper, Donald Trump has accused both of you of ignoring the disaster.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told me he was lying. I've spoken to the governor, spent time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are. And you spoke to the governor. I assume you heard the Republican governor of Georgia talk about that he was on the phone with me more than once. So that's simply not true, and it's irresponsible. I don't know what the governor wants to say about it. Let me tell you what I say.
In retrospect,
you have been listening to President Biden getting that briefing from FEMA, speaking, of course, with the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper. That's the governor he's referencing. You see him on that screen there in the Oval Office next to him with some sharp words, of course, for former President Trump. Gabe Gutierrez is joining us now from the White House. And this is a back and forth, Gabe, that has developed throughout the day after former President Trump suggested President Biden was not doing enough, did not reach out to the governor of Georgia. The governor of Georgia had said, in fact, that he had spoken with President Biden a day earlier. part of the briefing here that we're seeing is this is a job that any president has to do at a time of crisis like what we're seeing now from Helene.
Yeah, this is Consoler-in-Chief, Hallie, as you well know. Right. Now, the White House has increasingly throughout the day highlighted the federal response. This is actually the second time that the president has been out there speaking about the federal response here. That's in addition to the White House briefing that we heard from just a short time ago. The White House emphasizing that more than 3,600 federal personnel are deployed there on the ground. But Hallie, one more part that's playing out right now, the president also in a bit of a testy exchange with a reporter. You heard him react angrily to the suggestion that Donald Trump said that he had not communicated with Governor Brian Kemp. Well, the next question we're told by the pool reporter there is that President Biden shut down a question asking why he was in Rehoboth Beach, his beach house, during the weekend while this disaster was unfolding. He cut off the question and said, "Stop this game." So the White House trying to communicate that even though the president was at his beach house over the weekend, he was heavily involved in this disaster response. But again, Hallie, this has become already a campaign issue. Also, Vice President Kamala Harris, as you reported earlier, was at FEMA headquarters just this past hour getting a briefing of her own, Hallie.
And both of them plan to visit hard-hit areas. Right now that we know that President Biden is going to head to North Carolina on Wednesday, we know former President Trump, and we'll get to this in a second, was in Georgia earlier today.
Yeah, that's right. And we actually got some new details in that Oval Office, those remarks by the president. He said that he is plans to visit North Carolina on Wednesday, that he will actually go to Raleigh and then take an aerial tour of the most affected area in Asheville, because it would be too disruptive for the president and his security team to go into the hardest hit areas. But certainly the White House feeling pressure to go to North Carolina, to go to those affected areas as quickly as possible. But throughout the day, both he and the vice president have emphasized that they don't want to do it if it's going to mess up the emergency response there in any way, Hallie.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.